Okay, we're rolling. Hi, I'm Harry. We're going to call this, let's see, Harry's Harmony Farm and School for Cosmic Guidance, based on an idea my friend Dr. Ray came up with in 1980 or so. Um, I like music. I like to talk about music. I used to like baseball a lot, but I've been living in Pittsburgh for 40 years. We can still do that. Probably some other topics on top of that. But hey, let's start with some music, because what the heck. In 1977, yes, we're going back that far, ladies and gentlemen, there was music sweeping the land called disco. Didn't appeal to all of us despite the constant airplay. So I was coming out of a transitional phase of listening to the radio a lot and hearing Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen several times an hour, even though it's a 6-minute song. So I was trying to figure out, hey, there's got to be something better out there than listening to the radio. In early 1977, what I remember as a retrospective show for American Bandstand, they played a clip, and there was wild lights going on. The musicians were dressed in, and we'll just call it hippie stuff, because that's what it was back then. And this beautiful, beautiful girl singing this song that, I hadn't heard that cadence really before. Doom, doom, doo, 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 doo. Of course, that's White Rabbit. It was Jefferson Airplane. And I was blown away. Of course, I'd heard of Jefferson Airplane. I mean, Jefferson Starship was huge at the time with a big #1 hit called Miracles. Okay, let's go back a few years before that. In 1965, they started. Just wanted to have a band structured kind of like the Weavers, Pete Seeger's old band, who had Ronnie Gilbert as a female singer. So Jefferson Airplane drafted in a woman, I don't know how you pronounce that, we'll just call her that, Sign Anderson, Sigene. Please correct me if I'm wrong. They signed RCA Victor Records, which was a huge thing at the time, because rock and roll was still kind of new. It was, music for teenagers. The record company executives didn't know what the kids were going to buy. So he signed this far-out band from San Francisco. Our first album did all right. Jefferson Airplane Takes Off, it was called. It also featured a future Moby Grape guitarist, Skip Spence, on drums. He didn't even play drums, but Marty Ballin, one of the founders of Jefferson Airplane, liked the way he looked, thought he could play drums. Anyway, okay, so in November 1966, with a new singer named Grace Slick, they went into the studio to record an album that came out as Surrealistic Pillow in early 67. Now, I have a treat for you. I bought this copy. It's the longest one I've had in my collection. I bought this in 1977. It has been with me all over the place since then. Very good album. It mixed some folky elements at the time, some romantic love songs by Marty, some kind of, let's just say, acid-drenched songs by Paul Kantner. Remember, LSD was perfectly legal till October 1966. So I'll leave it at that. And this album, of course, produced a couple of big hits, Somebody to Love and White Rabbit. It's not all that well known, except for us, deep dive historians. They actually were songs played by the previous band in which Grace Slick performed, called The Great Society, but they broke up whenever Grace went to join the airplane in October of 66. So she had just come aboard. Now, there's an interesting notation on the back cover here. It says, Jerry Garcia, musical and spiritual advisor. Jerry, of course, was the guitarist for the Grateful Dead, who had not recorded an album yet at that time. But he hung out with them a lot and played some guitar in this album. He also, from what I've read, suggested they double the tempo of the song. It was called Someone to Love with the Great Society. It became Somebody to Love and went to number 5 on the charts and ushered in the whole, hippie era. as far as San Francisco is concerned. So, and this is generally regarded as their landmark album. It's a pretty cool album. It's if you like folky stuff, I like it. I always did. But I've had this for 48 years. Later in 1967, after the initial success of Surrealistic Pillow, RCA let the Airplane members go into the studio to record their follow-up. That came out toward the end of the year as this funky-looking Airplane, pardon the expression. It was called After Bathing at Baxter's. Baxter's may or may not have been a code word for the substance that became illicit in late 1966. Anyway, so this was the first album ever recorded without any thought as to whether it was going to sell anything. They just basically went in the studio for 6 months, had a lot of fun, and it's an interesting listen. Sharp contrast to the folky kind of stuff that was on its predecessor. Even had a gatefold, really weird-looking stuff. I think I bought this particular copy, well, at least 40-some years ago when I was in college, because I wore out my first one. This didn't have any hit singles. It's an interesting listen. It's about as heavy as it got in 67, except for like Hendrix's albums that came out that year and a few other odds and ends. But Grace Slick's contributions were a song called Rejoice. Based on James Joyce's book Ulysses, it's very strange. And another song called Two Heads, which I don't know what that's based on, but it's very strange as well. Paul Kantner has a song called Wild Time that is about the human being, January 67. And another one about that event called Won't You Try /Saturday Afternoon, where he mentions acid, incense, and balloons. Different time, folks. Not easy listening, but always one of my favorites. And so now we'll get to my favorite album of theirs. This is a live album called Bless Its Pointed Little Head. Pictured on the cover is their bass player, Jack Cassidy, who I can't remember the event, but it was a swank affair, and this is him before the thing even began. The back cover shows them having a good old time. I remember asking my mom if she'd buy this album for me, and she took a look at that back cover and the front cover, and, well, I don't think she wanted to. I think I bought it for myself at the late great music scene at the Harrisburg East Mall in 1977. Actually, I bought this copy in Pittsburgh at Hyde's at some point. I wore out my other copies and had a couple versions on CD when those were in vogue. This is a really cool album. It's live. It was recorded at both the Fillmore East in New York City, the Fillmore West in San Francisco. It features Marty on it a lot. He had been kind of shut out of the proceedings on After Bathing at Baxter's. The album in between was Crown of Creation, was their fourth studio album. He had a few more tracks on that. But he sang, let's see. Here we go again. 3/5 of a Mile in 10 Seconds was one of his songs. Grace does a much heavier cover of Somebody to Love. Marty sings It's No Secret and Plastic Fantastic Lover. All those songs are from Surrealistic Pillow. This has some great covers on it. Donovan's Fat Angel, which did mention Jefferson Airplane, which supposedly was the name of his dog, when the Sunshine Superman album came out in 1966. Really cool sounding tune. Rock Me Baby is a blues sang by Jorma Kaukonen, their lead guitar player. This sounds like early Hot Tuna, which probably is still going today. He and Jack are in their 80s, and last I knew were still rocking right along. The other cover is fantastic. It's called The Other Side of Life by a little-known musician called Fred Neil. He wrote the song from Midnight Cowboy that Nilsson sang. Everybody's talking at me. Yeah. But The Other Side of Life They do some fantastic vocal harmonies, Grace, Paul, and Marty. It's just a sensational track. And the album ends with an improvisation. For years, they did a piece, instrumental they called Thing, on later releases. This is called Bear Melt here. Apparently, somebody left one of those honey things shaped like a bear on the stove and it melted, and they thought it was funny. This is 11 minutes primarily jamming with Grace adding yet more truly surreal lyrics to what basically was an improvisational piece. Okay, we'll wrap that up, but Harry's Harmony Farm and School for Cosmic Guidance launches with a tribute to one of my favorite bands, Jefferson Airplane. Thank you, folks.